What's up guys, it's Project Photography back with another video, and today people we're going to be talking about 3 tips to drastically improve your landscape photography. Alright, so what makes a great photo in the first place? Generally speaking, you want composition, good lighting, and a decent subject matter. Those 3 things make a great photo, and landscape photography is no exception to that. So the first one I really want to talk about is lighting. So for me personally, I shoot pretty much all my landscapes at either sunset or sunrise, because then you get the softest light, you get the most beautiful light possible, and I feel like that sunrise is where you get the light that isn't too harsh on your subject. It also brings out the best in that subject. And what I mean here is that if you can see by this photo right here, this is at sunrise at my past high school, and you can see that the peaks are really nice, and it's not overpowering, but it does add a nice element to the photo. There's a specific time to shoot during this hour, because I don't like to shoot at sunset or sunrise when the sun is actually coming up. I like to shoot at a time called blue hour. So blue hour is around 30 minutes before the actual sunrise and 30 minutes after the sun actually sets. I know it's a very specific time, but trust me, I get the best photos then, because it's like there's still that element of nighttime to it, but it's also like a new day's beginning in terms of sunrise, and then it's like day is still kind of there, like that kind of light, but then it's going into night for sunset blue hour. And to me, those times are probably the best. I think a lot of people like to talk about sunrise and sunset photos, and that's great, but in all honesty, you don't want that kind of lighting, because again, it's still harsh. You still see that super high contrast between the really bright sky and the really dark foreground, and you don't really necessarily want that. You actually want a nice even lighting between both, and I think blue hour definitely gives that. And when you're going to shoot on location, I highly advise you guys to be there at least an hour 30, or somewhere between an hour 30 and 2 hours before, especially if you're going to a new location, you don't know initially what it has to offer. And what I do recommend is that you shoot throughout the entire blue hour and into sunset, because every minute the lighting constantly changes, and you want to be able to capture that, and you want to be able to go back and post and be like, hey, what photos I think were the best and what lighting is the best, because at the time you're not necessarily going to know if that lighting is perfect. You can't just go in there and shoot one photo and be like, oh, I'm done, because in all honesty, you can have the greatest composition and the greatest subject, but you won't understand the lighting until really after. Because there's some photos that I've thought like, oh wow, this is a great photo, I think I'm good, but then I'm like, nah, let's keep shooting, because I think that the lighting could change and things could change. Yeah, definitely shoot a lot of photos. Make sure you get there early, because you want to make sure you're able to scout the location out and pick out the right composition before you actually are able to capture that final image. That's the first step to drastically improving your landscape photography. And the second step to improving your landscape photography is to shoot at new locations and revisit old ones. So location translates to what your subject matter is, especially. So if you have a good location, it's going to be not necessarily very easy to shoot landscapes, but it makes that process definitely much easier. You can have one of the most terrible locations ever, and it'd be really hard to get landscape photos, because that's just how the niche is. A lot of it is dependent on location, and I don't really like to say that, but it really is. So you want to make sure you get the best locations possible. One of the ways to do that is to visit new places. You can go on Google Maps, you can go to necessarily green areas or the beach side or things like that, and really scout out like locations that you think would be best. Like what I do usually is I open Google Maps, and then I look for reserves, state parks, just anything like that I think would make a nice landscape location. Beaches, especially mountains, a lot of it, especially in your local area. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's actually a lot of landscape photography to be done in their local area, and not necessarily have to go out and spend this elaborate money on trips. Although trips do really help and would be really beneficial, you definitely utilize your local space first, and then once you kind of exhausted it, then you can go out and shoot. Go to national parks, you can go to, I don't know, just anywhere really, if you want to go shoot landscape photography. So you want to make sure you have an interesting subject matter. That is an absolute must. So I just want to go ahead and talk about revisiting old locations, because to me, that's probably one of the best indicators of how much you've grown as a photographer. And this photo right here, this was taken 2 years prior to this photo, and as you can see, it's the exact same location, but they're 2 very different photos. You get 2 very different vibes. Again, I'll show you this example here. This photo was taken about 3 years before, this photo was taken about 2 years before, and this photo was taken this year. Now, these 3 photos are of the same location. As you can see, they drastically change from each point. It's me revisiting locations and seeing how much I've grown, because honestly, that's probably one of the best indicators. If you can go back to an old location and then take new, different, exciting photos each time, you're gonna see that over time, your photos are going to change. If you visit this location maybe last year, and then you visit it this year, you should not come out with the same photos, because if you come out with the same photos, then you definitely have not improved. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of things really in their backyard that they can go ahead and utilize. And what I mean by that is that people don't understand that there's a lot to have in their local area, and that most of their landscape photography could come from there, and that they don't have to really go out to these really far places and spend so much money. So definitely utilize your local area, revisit old locations to really see how much you've grown as a photographer, and I guarantee you, if you do that, you'll come out with some stunning photos. So the last tip I want to emphasize, really, this is really honestly one of the most important parts, is that you have to practice. This might seem like a kind of a lame tip, but this definitely relates to composition. You're not going to be able to get your perfect compositions or really understand composition until you practice a lot. Landscape photography is one of those things where it's not flashy, and it's not necessarily the most, like, you can go out and shoot a lot of it at once. So it's really crucial to make time to go out there and practice a lot, because great composition takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. A lot of people don't understand that landscape photography is like the other photographies, or really anything in life, in the sense that you have to go out there and shoot a lot of it, because composition is something you have to really refine and really work on over the years. I guarantee you the composition I had 3 years ago versus now is way different. As you can see, the photos are very different. Like, they just come out as a different vibe, and I feel like refined my compositions as the years went on. I really learned to work with my surroundings and learn to go out there and shoot what I think would be the best way to represent that. There's really no shortcuts to be able to shoot good photos, even if you learned all the basics and whatnot, to really understand what you have to go out there and do. Because you can know all the technical aspects. Like, I think technical side of photography is super easy, but to go out there and understand the artistic side of it and really know how you're supposed to shoot something, but only in your way. Because I guarantee you that no two photographers shoot a landscape the same way. Although they might be similar photos, they're not going to shoot in the same way, because they have a different vision, and the only way you're going to get that is with practice. So make sure you go out there and practice a lot. Go out there and shoot a lot of landscapes. Make sure you're really dialing in on that, and I guarantee your composition will be refined. Because obviously there's these tips to improve photos, but to get very, very good at a subject, you have to put in years and a lot of practice and dedication to the art, because that's really what landscape photography is. It's an art, and you should be able to express that. And the only way to express that is by knowing how you want to shoot something through composition, and the way you do that is with a lot of practice and a lot of experience. So keep going out and finding new places to shoot, or revisiting old ones. Make sure you shoot at sunset and sunrise during blue hour, and make sure you practice a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much my 3 main tips, and I think those are probably the most crucial tips. These are no shortcuts to getting great landscape photos. These are no, you follow these, I guarantee you get great landscape photos all the time. Because if somebody is telling you that, they're definitely lying. I think this is a really important video to make, because not a lot of people know, and this is from years of experience for me. So yeah, those are the 3 main things. Make sure you have great lighting, great composition, great subject matter, and I guarantee you'll get great photos every single time. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learn something new. Definitely, if you're new to landscape photography, or even if you've just been here with landscape photography for a while, hopefully you can learn something from that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.